You know what hurts the most? It's not when strangers forget about the person you loved, it's when your own family still asks about them. You sit there, pretending your heart didn't just break all over again. There are nights when silence feels heavier than pain. And today was one of those nights. My family asked about you today, not casually, not like they forgot your name. They asked with the same hope they once had in their eyes when they saw me smile because of you. And for a moment, I froze, because how do you explain a love that still lives inside your heart, no longer lives inside your life? How do you tell them that the person who once felt like home, now feels like a memory you're trying not to cry over? I wanted to say you're happy, AB wanted to say we're still together, AB wanted to say your name without my voice breaking. But all I could do was look down and pretend my heart wasn't falling apart all over again. Today, my family asked about you again. And I wish I could explain what that does to a heart that's been trying so hard to stay quiet. It happened so simply, no dramatic moment, no warning, just another evening at home, another ordinary conversation floating around the dinner table. Until your name appeared like a ghost I wasn't prepared to see. My mother looked at me gently and asked, "How is she?" And, I swear, for a second, the entire world inside me stopped moving, because what was I supposed to say? Do I tell them that the person who once made my entire soul feel alive now feels a million miles away from me? Do I tell them that I still think about you every single day even though I pretend I'm okay? Do I tell them that sometimes I still reach for my phone hoping your name will appear? Even when I know it probably won't? I didn't know what to say, so I just smiled, that fake little smile people use when the truth is too painful to speak out loud. And the strange thing is, they noticed. Families always notice, especially when love once made you brighter than you are now. You know, they loved you, not because you tried too hard, not because you forced yourself into their hearts, but because you became part of this home so naturally. My mother still remembers the way you laughed in the kitchen. My father still remembers the respect in your voice whenever you spoke to him. Even my younger cousin asked about you once, wondering why you stopped coming around like you used to. That's the difficult part about real love. When two people fall in love, it never belongs to only them. It quietly touches everyone around them too. You became part of my routines, part of my family stories, part of future plans nobody even realized they were making. And now your absence sits in this house like an empty chair nobody wants to mention for too long. I still remember the first time I told my family about you. I tried to act calm, tried to sound casual. But deep inside, I already knew you were different, because people don't talk about ordinary connections the way I talked about you. People don't smile at their phones for no reason, unless someone truly special exists on the other side of the screen. You changed me in ways I didn't understand at the time. Before you, I was used to silence, used to carrying everything alone, used to pretending I didn't need anybody. Then suddenly, you arrived with your soft voice and patient heart. And somehow the world stopped feeling so heavy. You listened to things nobody else noticed. You understood emotions. I struggled to explain myself, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt emotionally safe. That's rare. People underestimate how rare that is, because attraction is common, attention is common, temporary feelings are everywhere. But emotional safety, that feeling where someone becomes your peace instead of your confusion, that's once-in-a-lifetime kind of love. And maybe that's why losing you feels the way it does. People think heartbreak is loud. They think it's dramatic crying and screaming and begging. But sometimes, heartbreak is much quieter than that. Sometimes, it's sitting with your family, while pretending someone's name no longer destroys you inside. Sometimes it's hearing a song you both loved and acting like your chest didn't just tighten. Sometimes it's deleting conversations, but still remembering every word. Sometimes heartbreak is survive on memories nobody else can see. I wanted to answer them today. I really did. I wanted to say, she's doing amazing. Or maybe, she still asks about all of you too. But the truth stayed trapped somewhere between my throat and my heart, because I don't know where we stand anymore. I don't know if I'm still someone you think about night. I don't know if you still miss me during quiet moments. I don't know if my name still means something to you. And that uncertainty, it destroys people slowly. Not knowing is its own kind of pain. I think the hardest part is that nothing bad happened all at once, no giant explosion, no dramatic betrayal. Just distance, silence, life becoming heavier, conversations becoming shorter, love slowly turning into memories instead of plans. And honestly, that hurts more sometimes, because when someone hurts you badly, anger helps you move on, but when two people still love each other and somehow still lose each other anyway, what do you even do with that? You just carry it. Quickly. Everywhere. I still remember your voice on late nights, the way exhaustion disappeared whenever we talked, the way even silence between us felt comfortable instead of awkward. Do you know how rare that is too? To sit with someone, and not feel pressure to perform, to exist beside another human being without pretending. You gave me that, and now the world feels louder without you in it. My family noticed the difference long before I admitted it myself. They noticed I laugh less. They noticed I stay quiet longer. They noticed my eyes losing that excitement they once had whenever your message appeared. Love changes people. But losing love changes them too, and I hate that they can see the damage even when I try hiding it. My mother asked carefully today, almost like she was afraid of hurting me accidentally. That gentle kind of concern, only mothers carry, and for a moment, I almost told her everything. I almost admitted how much I still miss you, how some nights I replay old conversations, just to hear your energy again, how there are moments when I still catch myself planning futures that probably won't happen anymore. But instead I just said, she's okay, I think, and even saying that felt painful, because once upon a time, I knew everything about you. I knew when your mood changed from a single text, I knew what made you anxious, I knew what made you smile without fail, I knew the tiny details nobody else paid attention to. Now I don't even know how your days feel anymore. That realization breaks something inside a person. It's strange how love can turn strangers into everything. And then somehow turn everything back into strangers again. I never thought that would happen to us. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I loved too deeply. Maybe I believed too fully. Maybe I trusted the feeling of forever too much. But honestly, when love feels real, you're supposed to believe in it. That's the cruel part. People tell you not to get attached, not to care too much, not to love too deeply, but real love requires exactly those things. And when it ends, you're left carrying all the depth alone. I wonder sometimes if you still remember the small things the way I do, the random late-night conversations, the sleepy voice messages, the moments we laughed over absolutely nothing, the promises whispered during vulnerable nights, when both of us believed love could survive anything. I remember all of it. That's the problem. People say time heals, but they never mention how memory fights back. One little thing can ruin an entire day, a familiar perfume, a certain street, a movie scene, a song, even hearing someone laugh the way you used to. And suddenly your heart travels backward without permission. I've tried moving forward. I really have. I tried distracting myself. Tried staying busy. Tried pretending none of this affects me anymore. But grief doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. Especially grief connected to love, because when someone touches your soul deeply enough, a part of them remains inside you even after they leave. And maybe that's why your name still hurts. Not because I'm weak, not because I'm obsessed, but because what we had mattered to me in the purest way possible. I loved you sincerely, in a world full of temporary attention and half-hearted feelings. I genuinely loved you. And people don't walk away from that unchanged. My father said something interesting once after you left. He looked at me quietly and said, "When someone brings peace into your life, their absence becomes very loud." I didn't answer him at the time. But he was right. Your absence is loud, not because you were noisy, but because your presence once made everything calmer. You made ordinary days feel meaningful. You made hard moments easier to survive. You made life feel less lonely. And loneliness feels different after experiencing real connection. Before you, loneliness felt normal. After you, it feels unbearable sometimes. That's what nobody tells you about love. Once your heart experiences genuine emotional warmth, coldness affects you differently forever. I still catch myself wanting to tell you things, funny moments during the day. Random thoughts before sleeping, things I know only you would understand properly, then reality appears again. And I remember, we don't talk like that anymore. That realization never gets easier. People think healing means forgetting, but I don't think I want to forget you, even now, even after all the confusion and pain and distance. I still can't hate the memories, because despite everything, you gave me some of the most beautiful emotional moments of my life. You taught me that love can feel gentle, that vulnerability isn't weakness, that being emotionally understood is one of the most powerful feelings a human being can experience. And maybe that's why letting go feels impossible some days, not because I'm holding on to fantasy, but because what we shared felt real, real enough for my family to still ask about you, real enough for your absence to still echo through this house, real enough for my heart to still pause when your name appears unexpectedly. I think people underestimate emotional attachment nowadays. Everyone acts detached. Everyone pretends moving on is easy. Everyone wants to seem unbothered, but love was never meant to be emotionless. If someone truly mattered to you, their absence should affect you. That doesn't make you dramatic. It makes you human, and today reminded me that maybe I'm still more attached than I admit out loud, because after the conversation ended, I went silent for the rest of the evening. I kept thinking about you. About us, about how strange life becomes when someone, who once felt permanent, slowly disappears from your daily reality. I walked into my room afterward and stared at old messages for longer than I should have. Not because I enjoy hurting myself, but because sometimes memories feel like the only remaining proof that something beautiful actually happened. Do you ever do that too? Do you ever revisit old moments and wonder how two people who loved each other so deeply became so distant? Because I do. More than I should, and maybe that's unhealthy. Maybe people would tell me to move on already. Maybe they'd say I'm too emotional, but I don't care anymore. I think real love deserves honesty, and the honest truth is, losing you changed me. Not temporarily. Not slightly deeply. You changed the way I view connection. You changed the way I experience silence. You changed the way I understand emotional intimacy, and even now, after everything, part of me still hopes life somehow brings us back to each other someday. Maybe that sounds foolish, maybe it is. But hope survives in strange places. Especially inside hearts that loved sincerely. There are nights when I imagine what I would say if you suddenly came back. Would I tell you how much I missed you? Would I stay calm and pretend I'm healed? Would I ask why things changed? Would I ask if you still love me too? I don't know. All I know is that some connections never fully disappear, no matter how much time passes, and ours feels like one of them. Even now, hearing your name still changes the atmosphere inside me instantly. That has to mean something, I think, about the version of me that existed when we were happy together. That person smiled easier, slept better, believed more. Love softened me in beautiful ways, and losing it hardened parts of me I didn't want to lose. Now I overthink everything. Now I hesitate emotionally. Now I fear getting attached because I know how painful absence can become afterward. But despite all that, I'd still choose having loved you over never knowing you at all, because even heartbreak cannot erase the beauty of genuine connection. And maybe that's what hurts my family too in their own quiet way. They watched me love you wholeheartedly. They watched happiness return to my life because of you. They watched hope grow inside me again. Then suddenly, they watched silence replace it all. Families notice more than we think. They see the emotional weight we carry even when we hide it behind normal conversations and tired smiles. That's why today's question affected me so deeply, because it reminded me that our story was real enough to leave traces everywhere. Not just inside me, inside this entire home, and honestly, part of me still waits for the day your name can be mentioned without my chest tightening. But today wasn't that day. Today your memory still felt painfully alive. Today your absence still felt personal. Today I still didn't know what to say when my family asked about the person I once imagined spending forever with. And maybe the saddest part is this. If they ask me again tomorrow, maybe still won't know what to say. Some people leave, but their place never does. I didn't understand that sentence before. Not truly. I used to think when people walked away, life slowly erased them. That memories faded, emotions weakened, and eventually the heart learned how to exist like nothing important had happened. But then you left, and suddenly I understood that there are certain people whose absence becomes permanent furniture inside the soul. You stop talking to them, but they still live in your routines. You stop hearing their voice, I stop. Your mind still remembers the softness of it during lonely nights. You stop seeing their face. Somehow every crowded room still searches for them without permission. That's what happened to me after you. You disappeared from my daily life. Your place never disappeared from my heart, and I think that's the hardest kind of love to recover from, not the toxic kind, not the loud kind, not the kind filled with hatred and betrayal, but the quiet kind, the genuine kind, the kind where two souls truly cared about each other. And somehow still couldn't stay together. Because when love ends badly, anger helps people move on, but when love was beautiful, when the memories are soft and real and full of warmth, moving on feels like betraying something sacred. That's why I still struggle sometimes, not because I don't understand reality, not because I'm waiting for miracles every second, but because loving you became part of who I was. And people don't simply remove parts of themselves overnight. I still remember the little things about you, the things nobody else would probably notice. The way your voice changed when you were tired. The way you tried to hide sadness behind small smiles, the way your eyes softened whenever you talked about something meaningful to you, the way you made ordinary conversations feel important just because you were part of them. You had this calmness about you, not perfection, not flawless beauty like movies try to describe. Just emotional warmth, and honestly, emotional warmth is rare now. People know how to flirt, people know how to impress, people know how to pretend, but very few people know how to make another soul feel emotionally safe. You did. That's why your absence still echoes inside me, because once someone becomes your emotional peace, life feels louder after they leave. I tried pretending it didn't affect me at first. I acted normal. I laughed when people expected me to laugh. I stayed busy so nobody would ask difficult questions. But healing doesn't work through pretending. Late at night, reality always returns. And nighttime is dangerous when someone still lives inside your heart. That's when memories become louder. That's when old conversations replay themselves. That's when your mind starts visiting moments you thought you buried already. Some nights I still remember the smallest details about us. The way we stayed awake, talking long after we both said goodnight. The random moments we laughed over things nobody else would understand. The way silence between us never felt uncomfortable. Do you know how rare that is? To sit in silence with someone and still feel connected. Most people only know surface-level connection. Temporary excitement, fast attraction, short conversations that disappear as quickly as they begin. But what we had felt deeper than that. You became part of my emotional world, part of my inner peace, part of the future I quietly imagined whenever life felt difficult. That's why losing you felt like losing more than a relationship. It felt like losing a version of myself too, the version that believed love could stay. The version that trusted, forever, more easily. The version that wasn't afraid of emotional attachment. After you, I became quieter, not immediately, no, slowly, like the ocean pulling back before a storm nobody notices yet. My family noticed first. Families always notice emotional changes before we admit them ourselves. They noticed my silence lasting longer than usual. They noticed how my smile stopped reaching my eyes the same way. They noticed how I avoided conversations about love entirely. And maybe they understood something I was still trying to deny. That I never really replaced you emotionally. People think moving on means finding someone else quickly, but hearts don't work like phones. You can't simply upgrade emotions and erase history. Real attachment leaves fingerprints on the souls. That's why certain songs still remind me of you instantly. That's why certain places feel emotionally heavier than before. That's why even hearing your name unexpectedly can still ruin my composure for hours. And honestly, I hate how much power memories still have over me sometimes. I hate that one thought of you can change my entire mood. I hate that part of me still wonders if you ever miss me too. I hate that even now, after everything, I still care about how life is treating you. But maybe love was always meant to leave marks. Maybe people who truly touch our hearts are supposed to remain with us in invisible ways forever, because even now, I still carry lessons you taught me, without realizing it. You taught me that softness is strength. You taught me that emotional honesty matters more than appearances. You taught me that being understood can heal wounds people never talk about out loud. Before you, I thought love was mostly excitement, big gestures, intense moments, beautiful words. Then you arrived and showed me something quieter. You showed me that real love often hides inside ordinary moments. Checking if someone got home safely, remembering tiny details from conversations, staying during difficult, emotional days instead of disappearing, listening carefully instead of just waiting to speak. That kind of love changes people permanently. Which is why your absence is permanent too. I think one of the saddest things about losing someone you genuinely loved is realizing life keeps moving anyway. The world doesn't pause for heartbreak. People still go to work. Families still eat dinner together. Friends still joke around. Morning still arrives whether your heart feels ready or not. Meanwhile inside you, an entire emotional universe is collapsing quietly, and nobody fully sees it. That's the lonely part about heartbreak. Everyone sees the outside version of you. Very few people understand the conversations happening inside your mind every day. The memories, the regrets, the questions, the imaginary scenarios where things could have ended differently. I still replay certain moments, sometimes wondering if I could loved you better. Maybe I should been more patient. Maybe I should have communicated differently. Maybe I should fought harder for us during difficult times. That's another cruel thing about love ending, even when nobody is fully wrong. Both people still blame themselves in private, and maybe you do too. Maybe there are nights when you think about me and wonder where things started breaking. Maybe there are moments when you miss us but stay silent because too much time has passed already. I don't know. That uncertainty hurts more than people realize, because when someone mattered deeply to you, not knowing how they feel afterward becomes its own emotional torture. Sometimes I wish we could have one final, honest conversation. Not to force anything, not to beg, not to reopen wounds, just honesty, the kind where two people finally admit how much they meant to each other, without fear or pride interfering, because I think pride destroys more love stories than hatred ever does. People stay silent while their hearts scream. People act unbothered while secretly grieving. People pretend to move on because vulnerability feels dangerous now. And maybe that's why so many beautiful connections disappear unfinished, not because love wasn't real, but because fear became louder than honesty. Still, despite all the sadness, I don't regret loving you. I refuse to turn beautiful memories into bitterness, just because they ended painfully. You were real to me. What we shared was real to me. And no ending can erase that truth. Some people come into your life to teach temporary lessons. Others arrive and quietly become part of your emotional identity forever. You became part of mine. Even now, certain versions of happiness still remind me of you automatically. Soft evenings, rainy nights, slow music during long drives, peaceful conversations that feel emotionally sincere. Anything gentle still carries traces of you somehow, and maybe that's why healing has taken so long. Because you weren't just another person, you became associated with comfort itself. Losing you felt like losing emotional shelter during a storm. I tried replacing the emptiness at first. Tried distracting myself with noise and temporary attention, but nothing meaningful grows from emotional avoidance. At the end of the day, the heart always returns to what mattered most. And you mattered more than my pride likes admitting sometimes. I remember one night after you left, I sat alone thinking about how strange human connection really is. Out of billions of people in this world, somehow certain souls recognize each other differently. Not perfectly, not magically, but deeply. And when that kind of connection breaks apart, something inside you changes permanently. You begin measuring future connections against what you once felt. That's dangerous sometimes, because not every love arrives with the same emotional depth, and honestly, part of me fears I may never feel that exact kind of emotional closeness again. Not because nobody else is good enough, but because what we shared reached parts of me few people ever touched. You saw versions of me I normally hide from the world. My fears, my overthinking, my emotional exhaustion, my vulnerable side that acts strong even when it's falling apart, internally. And instead of judging me for those things, you stayed, at least for a while. That's why your absence still hurts years inside moments, because it's difficult losing someone who once understood your silence so well. Even now, there are moments when I instinctively want to text you. Something funny happens. Something difficult happens. Something beautiful reminds me of you. And for 1 second, my heart forgets reality, then the silence returns again. That silence says everything words no longer can. Maybe that's what heartbreak really is, not dramatic sadness every single day, but quiet moments where love still reaches for someone who is no longer there. And honestly, I think that kind of pain stays with people forever in small ways, not enough to destroy them completely, but enough to remind them they once loved deeply. I wonder if, someday, your name will stop affecting me emotionally. Maybe time eventually softens even the deepest attachments. Maybe years from now I'll hear about you and simply smile peacefully instead of feeling my chest tighten. Maybe. But right now, your place still exists inside me exactly where you left it, and that's the strange thing about certain people. Even after they leave your life physically, emotionally they continue existing inside your routines, your thoughts, your memories, your understanding of love itself. You changed how I define connection, you changed how I define comfort, you changed how I define home, because home was never really a place after meeting you. Home became a feeling. And somehow, you carried that feeling naturally. That's why nothing feels exactly the same anymore. And maybe it never will. Some people leave, but their place never does.